The sun hung high above the cracked asphalt, beating down with ruthless heat. Gas fumes twisted in the dry air. Henry adjusted his grip on the pump handle, listening to the last gurgles of fuel drain into his old, rust-stained Chevy. He hadn't noticed the motorcycles when he pulled in, didn't hear them over the thrum of his aging engine and the soft hiss of wind through the cracked windows. But now they were here, 6 of them, chrome and thunder, and at their head the biggest damn Harley he'd ever seen. The leader leaned forward on his handlebars, eyeing Henry with the lazy menace of a lion watching an injured deer. His vest hung open, showing off a chest full of black ink tattoos, snakes, skulls, flames, and a snarling wolf just over his heart. The man's scalp gleamed under the sun, clean-shaven and scarred. One eye had a clouded film over it, the kind of man who'd earned his respect through bruises and blood. He nodded once, slow and deliberate, then revved the engine. Henry didn't flinch. "Move it, old man," the biker barked. "Boss wants that pump." Henry didn't even turn around. He pulled the nozzle out with a smooth motion and returned it to its cradle. The machine beeped its mechanical approval, and he reached for the receipt. His movements were precise, almost ceremonial. The biker's boots hit the ground behind him, heavy and impatient. "You deaf or just slow?" Henry folded the receipt, tucked it into his pocket, and turned. "I was here first." That was all he said. Just 4 words, calm, unshaken, and somehow that made it worse. The biker boss stepped closer, close enough for Henry to smell the oil, leather, and stale sweat rolling off him. The rest of the gang spread out across the gas station like wolves surrounding a carcass. The tension thickened like humidity before a storm. "You know who I am, old man?" the boss asked. "No," Henry replied, "and I don't much care." A low chuckle rippled through the gang, but it had no real amusement in it, just hunger. The biker's eyes narrowed. "They call me Razor, lead the Blackjaws. Last guy who disrespected me needed his jaw wired shut." "Then I'd say you earned your name," Henry said, unfazed. "But I'm not moving." "You think you scare me?" Henry met his gaze with eyes that had long since stopped fearing men. They were gray, hard like worn steel, and deep with memories no one wanted to dig up. His jaw was square, his back, though aged, stood straight, and his hands, though spotted with age, were clenched and steady. "No," he said. "I think you forgot how to be scared." Razor's face changed, not rage, but something colder, offended, insulted. He stepped closer until his chest brushed Henry's. "You want me to drag you off this pump?" Razor growled. Henry leaned forward just enough to meet him nose to nose. "Go ahead." A long, brutal pause. Then Razor moved, a sudden lunge, fast, aggressive. But Henry didn't back up. He pivoted sideways, caught Razor's arm, and twisted it behind his back in one clean move. The biker let out a surprised grunt, then a sharper gasp as Henry applied pressure. Not enough to break, but enough to remind him of pain. Gas station silence. Henry released him, and Razor stumbled back a step, shocked. "I taught close combat training at Camp Pendleton in '72, Henry said flatly. 57 years later, my hands still remember." Another biker took a step forward, cracking his knuckles. "He's just an old man. Let's show him." But Razor raised a hand. "Stop." The man hesitated, confused. Razor looked Henry up and down, and his voice was quiet when he said, "You're Iron Hand Rowe, aren't you?" Henry's expression didn't change. "I was a kid," Razor said slowly. "My old man used to talk about you like you were a ghost story. Said you dismantled a biker gang in Nevada using only a crowbar and guts." "I didn't do it alone," Henry replied. "But yeah, I was there." Razor let out a breath, like a man realizing he just stepped on a landmine. "Damn." Behind them, the younger bikers whispered among themselves. They were hearing the name Iron Hand for the first time, but the respect in their leader's tone spoke volumes. "I've changed since then," Henry said. But I still don't like being pushed around. I buried friends for that right. Razor nodded once. Not submission, just acknowledgement. Why fight over a pump, Iron Hand? Henry's voice dropped lower. Because when you let people take little things from you, your place in line, your voice, your dignity, it doesn't stop there. They take more and more. Until one day you wake up and you're not a man anymore. Another pause. Then Razor reached out a hand. A peace offering. Henry stared at it for a moment and shook it. Razor turned to his crew. We'll wait? Henry nodded once, then climbed into his truck. As the engine groaned to life, Razor called out, "Still got it, old man." Henry leaned out the window with a half smile. "Still need it." And with that he rolled away, the sun glinting off his rearview mirror. Inside the gas station, a teenage clerk stood frozen behind the counter, still clutching the chips he'd been stocking. "Who was that guy?" he whispered. The station manager, watching through the glass door, muttered, "A man with more backbone than the rest of us combined."